Hello everyone there, how are you? Today we are going to start with chapter 2 of Business Studies class 11th. This chapter basically contains some of the forms in which we can start a business. Before starting a business, we have to select a particular suitable form which is the best for your business. For an example, suppose if you are having a very small business, then you can go for a different form, that is sole proprietorship. Little bigger size of the firm or the business, it includes partnership firms. Or if you have a ancestral property, or means the property inherited by your ancestors, or it is a family business, then we call it a joint Hindu family business. Similarly, we have cooperative societies, joint stock companies, which we are going to discuss everything in detail in later discussions on this chapter. So before going ahead, let me tell you regarding what this chapter is about. This chapter is about the form in which you can do the business. A person, while doing a business, he may do it individually, he may do it with other persons, it may do it with several persons. So, since the number of persons involved in the business goes on increasing, the size of the business as well as form of the business changes. Some of the business at the later stage will come which will be having a large number of persons only. Suppose joint stock company, cooperative society, they have a large number of members in their business. We may term it as a shareholder in case of joint stock company and members in case of a cooperative societies. So, sir, which form is better among all? It depends upon the various factors which we will discuss in this chapter. And one question which I will like to address here itself, because most of the students have this question in each and every batch when I have, sir, which form of the business organization is better or it is best? So, answer is not a very clear one. It is that it is like business is based upon, form of the business is based upon certain factors, and one or other form may prove to be best at different part of the business life, or at the different according to the choices of the person who is starting the business, who is doing the business. Or it may be said that our business started with sole proprietorship may convert into a partnership in next stage of or later stage of the life, and ultimately it can convert into cooperative society, or may convert into the companies at the most later stage of the life. So similarly, while doing a business may go through different forms, or even while starting a business, you may start it with a different form. So let us start with the chapter. The first form of business organization is the sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship, as the word says, sole proprietorship. We have to bifurcate it, sole and proprietorship. Sole means individual owner, a person who is a individual, single person is called sole. Proprietorship means ownership. So sole proprietorship means single ownership. Means a business who has a single, or we can say only one ownership, it is called the sole proprietorship business. For an example, you may see different forms of kirana stores or grocery stores in near locality, and you may see that it is owned by a single person. A single person is only responsible for managing the task, he is only responsible for arranging the capital, he is only responsible for all the operations like sale, purchase, etc. of the business. Means everything in the business is done by him only, from investing in amount to the managing the business, and formally carrying it to the higher level. So this all the things, when it is done by a single person, it is called sole proprietorship. Means he is the only owner of the business. There are certain benefit of the sole proprietorship which we are going to discuss it, but you may now think upon that being a sole proprietorship business, the person can have full amount of profit with him. He doesn't have to share any kind of profit with others. Of course, if he's having any employee, so he has to share the salary with him, but salary is not a profit. Salary is an expense. So after deducting all the expenses, the leftover profit will be shared by himself alone. Means he is not going to share it with any other person, like They share in partnership or companies or cooperative society in different forms of business, right? So please see on your screen, sole proprietorship is a popular form of business organization and is the most suitable form for all small businesses, especially in their initial years of operation, right? Initially यानी शुरू की स्टेज में, बिगिनिंग स्टेज में जो बिजनेस होता है वो सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप के फॉर्म में ज्यादा दिखाई देते हैं. ओके, as I've told you, sole proprietorship is one who is the only owner of the business. He is the single owner of the business. As sole implies only, and proprietor refers to owner, right? So this form of business is particularly common in areas of personalized services such as beauty parlors, hair salons, small scale activities like running a retail shop in a locality. As I told you about the grocery stores or kirana stores, right? Okay. So let us come to the features of sole proprietorship. First feature is formation and closure. Listen, students. In India and in other countries too, there are certain stages or procedure involved in starting of a business. Like when you start a company, there is a detailed procedure to start a company. You have to go through various formality when you are starting a company. But while starting with the sole proprietorship, you don't have to, or I must say, you doesn't require much formalities to start the sole proprietorship business. Sir, why much formalities is not required? It is only because there is no registration, there is no any other kind of formalities required. There is no registration to be done when you start a sole proprietorship business, right? So formation means the starting of the business and ultimately closure. When you want to close the business, when you intend to close the business, is a very simple process. Means you don't have to go in a detailed or legal formalities very less in case of starting or ending the business in the case of sole proprietor, right? Hardly, rarely any legal formalities are required to start a sole proprietorship business, though in some cases one may require license, right? License, like we have certain Nagar Nigam, municipality, corporation licenses, certain local authority licenses, which can be, which can easily we can get the license by paying a nominal amount of fees to them. So it is not a very cumbersome or very long, lengthy process, right? There is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. This is because when we will come to the company or any other kind of organization like cooperative society, like partnership, so I will tell you there that for that business organization there are certain acts, there are legal law, there are particularly acts made for them which apply to them, and this form of business organization has to be run under those acts. Means all the applications of act comes over that business. But in sole proprietorship, there is no separate law so that it governs the sole proprietorship. Closure of the business can also easily be done. Thus, there is ease in formation as well as closure of the business. Ease in formation and closure means easily you can form and close the business. Now come to the liability. First of all, tell me better what is the liability? What do you mean about the liability? Liability means any sum which has to be paid to the outsider. It is the obligation which has to be paid to the outsider. Suppose I have purchased certain amount of goods on credit. Credit means I have not paid the money for that. So I have, suppose I have purchased the amount 10,000 goods to sell it, and I haven't paid on in cash. I will be paying it on a later stage of business, say after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So this is the amount which is the liability of the business. It means I have to pay it on a later stage of the business life, right? So liability in case of sole proprietor is unlimited, right? Please learn this word unlimited liability. It is going to be used in a very broad sense in next stage of this chapter. Everywhere you will find that unlimited liability or liability is being used. So what is unlimited liability? First of all, be very clear with liability. What is liability? Liability means the amount which has to be paid to the outsiders. Outsider means like creditors, like when you have borrowed the loan from the bank, you have to pay certain amount to the bank in later stage of the business life, right? So this is the liability. Now what is unlimited liability? Focus on the word unlimited. Unlimited means sole proprietor has unlimited liability. It means that in a case when sole proprietor fails to pay the liability from the business, yes, Suppose the liability of sole proprietorship is 10,000 rupees, but he incurred certain losses in the business, recurring losses in the business, and now business has the goods or other thing in the business which is of only 8,000 rupees. So, sir, how sole proprietor will pay off 10,000 if his business is only having 8,000 rupees worth goods or different asset? So yes, there is a deficiency of 2,000 rupees. There is a deficiency of 2,000. Now, from where it can he can bring the 2,000 rupees into the business, right? So there is no way. There is no, because in a business there is only 8,000 rupees at this time present, but he has to pay 10,000 rupees. Now this 2,000 can be recovered from him, can be taken from him by selling his personal assets also. Sir, what are personal assets? The asset which doesn't belong to the business is called the personal asset. Suppose out of 10,000 he paid 8,000, now remaining 2,000 can be recovered from him by selling his household assets. It means that whenever bank loan is payable but not paid, any creditors the amount was payable but it is not paid. Now that creditor or bank may sell his personal assets like car, TV or personal household asset to pay off the debts. Contrast it with other kind of business organization like company. In case of companies and other organization, which I will be discussing on later stage, they have limited liabilities. It means whenever their business has a less asset present in the business, it means they are not having sufficient asset to pay off the liability, then nobody can touch their household assets. Nobody can touch their personal asset to pay the business liability. It means if it would have been a company, then 8,000 liability would have been paid and 2,000 liability would have been the loss to the creditors. They would not have come into the house and sell the personal assets of the owner, right? So liability is unlimited in the case of sole proprietorship. Now, third, sole risk bearer in profit recipient. Very simple point. He is the only person who bears all the risk and take all the profit. Means every amount of profit which he has in the business, he enjoys all the benefit himself. Means he doesn't have to share any profit with any other person. Control means the right to take decisions. So if he is only a single owner, then all the right to take the decision lies with him. There is no one who will interrupt or interfere in the decision making of the firm or the sole proprietorship firm. No separate entity. Now please understand this point also in detail. See beta, what happens generally, a businessman, like when I will talk about a company, see some of the things has to be taken here, which we'll be discussing in the later part of the chapter, to make you understand this point. So I will contrast it with company. So when I talk about company, in case of company, there is a separate entity. It means that in the eyes of law means in the eyes of basically when there is a suit filing, when there is a case against the company. So court has to see a company and shareholder differently. Means the court will differentiate between the company and shareholder. It means that when a complaint is filed against the company, the court has to take the decision against the company. Suppose a person who was who was being uh, who had the fraud from the company side, he went to the court and he filed a complaint against the company. Now court will give or certain may impose certain amount of penalty on the company, but not on the shareholder. So why not on the shareholder? Because in the eyes of law, company and shareholder are different. The penalty will be imposed on the company and it will not be imposed on the shareholder. Why? Because both the things are very different in the eyes of law. But now in the case of sole proprietorship, sole proprietor and his firm, means the shop of the sole proprietor, the business of the sole proprietor, and he himself, in the eyes of law, are not different. They are not different. It means that whenever a person files a complaint against the business of the sole proprietor, then it will be deemed that the complaint has been filed against the sole proprietor. It means all the actions will be taken against the sole proprietor himself, and he will be imposed penalty and he can be imprisoned because of the complaint made by any third party or the outsider of the business. This is only the reason that They are no different in the eyes of law. But as I talk about the company, both are different. So a complaint filed against the company may not affect the shareholders, right? They will not be penalized or punished because the default was done or fault was done by the company itself, right? So there is no separate entity in the eyes of law. In the eyes of law, no distinction is made between the sole trader and his business, as business does not have an identity separate from the owner. The owner is held responsible for all the activities of the business, right? Now he have lack of business continuity, right? It is a 6 point and very easy point. See beta, being a single person to manage the business, to own the business, to control the business. In case of his death, in case of his insanity, insanity means when he becomes when he become unsound mind. He has unsound mind means when he is not mentally capable of handling the things, right? Mentally retarded person. So in the case of his death, in the case of his insanity, in the case of when his imprisonment, physical ailment, or I must say any kind of disability, or bankruptcy. Bankruptcy means when he is not able to pay off the liability and now he is bankrupt, means he will not be allowed to carry on any business. Of the sole proprietor will have a direct and detrimental effect on the business. Ultimately, business will suffer and it may lead to the closure of the business only because there is no other person to handle the business. क्योंकि उस पर्सन का कोई दूसरा ऐसा कोई साथी नहीं है जैसे पार्टनरशिप में होता है जो बिजनेस को हैंडल कर सकता है उसके बाद तो उसकी डेथ इंसेनिटी इम्प्रिजनमेंट पर हो सकता है कि बिजनेस जो है वो बंद हो जाए कोई उसको संभालने वाला ना हो राइट सो दिस इज द सिक्स्थ फीचर लैक ऑफ बिजनेस कंटिन्यूटी so here we finish the features of the sole proprietorship in and introduction of it. In next class we will be discussing about the merits and demerits of sole proprietorship, right? Till that time please carefully read the NCERT. If you have any doubt please write it and please ask me in the comment box, right? And if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it so that any latest video may reach to you as fast as possible. Okay, so here we will end. Till that time take care. Okay, bye bye.